Now let's look at message tracking log searches with another example. And in this one, we're going to deliberately set up a failed message so that we can see what that looks like in our message tracking logs. Now, to set the scene here, we need to look at one of our recipients. I've got Alan Reed here already set up. In this mailbox usage section, you can see he's breached his mailbox quota. Now, to make that happen, I've been running my mail generator script for a little while, and I've set just a very, very low quota of 10 megabytes or 0.01 gigabytes, and I've set that for each of the quota thresholds. So as you can see, he's storing about 14 megabytes of mail, which puts him at 140% of his 10 meg quota. So let's send him a test message from the remote connectivity analyzer. So that message went through. So let's go back to the server and have a look at a message tracking log search. So again, there's quite a few messages there. Let's go to our useful habit of capturing the results in a variable. And I'll also reduce the number of results I'm going to get by setting a start date of just the last 5 minutes. Sort them by timestamp, as we sort of discussed in the last video. That's a useful way to see the events in the correct order in which they occurred. So there is a couple of events there, and the last one is a fail. So that might be interesting to look at in more detail. So here's that fail event, and there's lots of information here, including this straw driver deliver exception message, quota exceeded. Failed to process message due to a permanent exception with message cannot open mailbox. Okay, you can see, so the message tracking logs have given us all the information we would need to work out what happened to that message and why it wasn't delivered. So in a troubleshooting situation, you could use this search to find an answer to a question such as, where did this email go? Why wasn't this email received? Without having to look in the actual person's mailbox or contact the sender and ask them if they received a non-delivery report or any other diagnostic information like that. Most of it will be available for you right here in your message tracking logs. And you can get pretty much the full story of any message delivery issue most of the time from these types of searches. Now, obviously, event ID of fail is something that's interesting. And you might be thinking, well, how many other failed messages have I had in my organization lately? So again, we can just do a get message tracking log search. And let's say we just want to know, and we can look for event ID of fail. And then we can see there's been about 6 or so failed events. And I might be curious about the timestamp at which they occurred. So we'll do timestamp, source, sender, recipients, and message subject. So these have all happened today while that Alan's mailbox has been over its quota, and my mail generator script has been trying to send him messages. Each of those has failed. Now, just one last trick I'll show you before we move on from message tracking log searches. We can actually do a get message tracking log and group by the property of event ID. Select the name, count, and then format that in a table. I'll add the auto switch as well. It's just good formatting. And we may actually just sort them by count as well. So what that has done is it has grabbed at least the last 1,000 message tracking log entries, because we need to extend our result size there if you want to see any more. So we'll go ahead and do that just to get the full result. You can see at a glance just a rough idea of the health of the transport in our organization. There's been very few failed messages, only those 6 that we looked at before, out of a total of somewhere around 500 messages that are recorded in the current message tracking logs on this server. So obviously there is a lot more to learn and become familiar with for message tracking log searches, but it is definitely well worth your time learning these skills, especially these PowerShell search techniques, so you can really find almost any email message or track almost any email message that has gone through your organization, and help to troubleshoot Mailflow issues, diagnose server load issues, look for statistical information, and useful things like that.